is so special, and I know it would mean so much to Joy that if all of you are here. And I want to thank the garden club ladies who came and did cleanup in the yard and fixed it up. And I want to thank Joyce for doing these beautiful flower arrangements. Yesterday I went crazy at Trader Joe's buying flowers, and she used every single one of the flowers, and I think she did such a beautiful job. We actually had some, and I don't know what they were called, Molly knows, some flowers from Joy's garden. So we did have a little bit of joy in that. But Joy, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of background on Joy. Joy was born in Bournemouth, England in June 18th, 1945. My father was in the Army Air Corps during the war, and my mother was a war widow. And for 4 years, Joy lived the blissful existence of the only child, and then I came along. And I would imagine that we had a fairly normal sibling relationship, 4 years apart. I do remember my parents telling us that on a family trip to, I believe it was White Sands, New Mexico, when my dad was stationed in Albuquerque, that we were fighting so much that they were very tempted to leave us on the side of the road. And there was another time when we lived in a little 2-bedroom house, and my sister and I apparently, see, I don't remember any of this is all alleged, but we were at opposite ends of a closet door pushing. And my parents decided that rather than watching us kill each other, that they would put on another bedroom, so they did. So that it went on like that, and then when we became adults, then Joy became my friend, and a very, very dear friend, and so I was very glad for that. I think the memories I treasure most about Joy, a lot of times around a cup of tea, and we would be discussing family memories or world events, and not always agreeing, but always cordial in our disagreements. And then there were the memories of our traditional family gathering. Every Thanksgiving, we would come down to Oregon House and celebrate what came to be known as Thanksmas, because we do Thanksgiving and Christmas together. And then family trips to the Oregon coast of California, or not the Oregon coast of California. Can you tell I'm a little tired? The Oregon coast, because it was sort of halfway between where we lived in Washington and where Joy and Jim and Justin lived down here. And the memories that we shared there, they're memorable because it was such a deepening of family love, of the memories that you share together and the traditions that you create. And that's why in realizing that now, having to say goodbye to my sister, which I still have not grasped, and I don't think I will ever grasp it, but one of the things, when you lose someone really close to you, it really drives home the importance of sharing with those you love how much you love them. And affirming them. It's like, because we don't ever have the promise of tomorrow. And so it's so important to be able to say to those we love, I love you, and to do it today. And so now is the time to affirm that love, and perhaps to mend and heal a love that's been broken. When I think of the kind of love that Joy shared, I'm reminded of love verses from the Bible, from Corinthians 13. Love is patient, love is kind, it is not envious, love does not brag, it is not puffed up, it is not rude, it is not self-serving, it is not easily angered or resentful, it is not glad about injustice, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. And I just think that really describes Joy. Anyway, I'm so very thankful that I had a big sister like Joy, and to have witnessed and been a recipient of her wit, her wisdom, her desire to continually learn new things, her talent for creating beauty in her gardens, her gracious hospitality, her love of tea and Collins Lake ice cream, her fierceness, her bravery, her poise, her stoicism when faced with her terminal illness, her generosity, her love of animals, and her fighting for the things that were important to her. And again, I just thank you all so much for coming. And when we were kind of thinking of something that we wanted you all to take away with you today to remind you of joy. And so we put together some little bags there, and there's a packet of seeds, of wildflower seeds, and some Twinings tea, so please lift a cup in Joy's memory. And then there are Hershey Kisses, because Joy loved Hershey Kisses, and Hershey Kisses are always a good idea. So anyway, please take a bag with you when you leave. And again, thank you all for coming. So.
I forgot to mention, Joy you'll notice there's a lot of root beer in the bucket of ice out there. Joy loved root beer, and when she was in the hospital, she thought, I don't care anymore about weight or health or anything like that. So she was just sucking down root beers all day. So in honor of Joy, there's a lot of root beer out there.
And we even took in a thermos of tea, so she had tea in the hospital.
She had a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
the root beers were, that was the one she kept sucking down. So, and for those, I don't know if all of you know, but there's a whole table of Joy memorabilia, pictures, from everything from baby pictures to really cool pictures, and I didn't even know that 95% of those existed. It's just stuff we came across going through her papers and things like that. So I would encourage everyone to dig through those, because there's some cool stuff there. So. Ailey, you got a memory you wanted to share?
I was just waiting to put together. I have a lot of memories of joy. One specific memory that I would like to share with you is kind of funny, but it shows a side of joy that most of you have experienced over the years. And is when Justin and I started dating, after a few months, we were living in London. After a few months, he tells me, hey, why don't you come and meet my parents in California? And I said, well, I've never been there. I love to come. So we come to California, and I meet Jim and I meet Joy, and I liked them immediately. They were very hospitable. They were so nice to me. And I remember one day, we go to sorry.
She's Italian.
Yeah. Thank you. One day we go to Marysville, and you want to show me the downtown. So we go, and it's around like 4 p.m. or something, and Joy. Sorry.
It's a funny story, but you're making it sad.
And about 4 p.m. she says, hey, why don't we go for supper? It's time to have dinner. And I was like, coming from Italy, that will be around 8, 9 p.m. I was thinking, 4 p.m. supper? What? Are you kidding me right now? I'm saying, I don't even have coffee at 4 p.m. It's too early for coffee too for me. So we said, yeah, let's go to Casa Carlos, and a Mexican restaurant that we really like. So I said, okay, this is the first cultural shock I'm having in the US. So we go there, I don't really eat anything, because this is just unacceptable. I cannot do this. These people are weird. And so we have a drink, they have dinner and everything. And the reason why I'm mentioning this story is because since then, she saw how shocked I was. I said, okay, she's kind of uptight, this lady. So, since then, every time she had me for dinner, we went somewhere, she would always adjust to my timing, and we would never have dinner before 7:30, 8 p.m. And this shows just how flexible she was, and how unflexible I was, and still am. So he showed she cared so much about me and Justin and us to be together, that she would do whatever it takes to be together.
For context, in Sicily, 10 p.m. is early for dinner.
When is breakfast?
Breakfast is usually a croissant and some cappuccino or something like that. It's pretty informal. That you can, yeah, it's pretty light.
In the morning or when?
What's the name of the vehicle? I forgot the name.
A hearse.
Hearse. Okay. Another story I wanted to say is also kind of funny. When we went to Sicily with Justin and Joy, we were driving to the coast to have some lunch. And I remember we're driving, we're having a nice time, a conversation, and all was good. And suddenly I see this car.
I'm sorry, I have to interject. I was not driving slowly.
I was driving there.
Oh, I thought I was driving.
I was driving.
Right. Well, you weren't driving slowly either.
And Italian drivers can be really, really aggressive. They're really not, really aggressive drivers. So
This comes from.
You always have someone like tailgating you. Always somebody like behind you, like really aggressive that wants to pass you. So suddenly I see this guy behind me that is really aggressive, wants to pass me. I said, okay, you know, you go. So suddenly he's passing me, and we all three look on the side, and the car was.
It was a hearse. There was a
it was a
hearse.
hearse.
There was-
a funeral with a dead body in the back.
But he was racing. There was a hearse.
He was racing.
There was a hearse
racing.
and another car were racing each other. And I mean, we were going fast,
And I
and they
was-
went hurtling by us. I mean, they were probably going easily 100 miles
They
an
were
hour.
really.
It was awesome.
He was really like really speeding. You know, he was racing me, and it was like, and we were all looking at this car. This is not happening, and we were so.
It was awesome.
Laughing so hard, and Joy was so blown away. But it just showed like how she was just a great person. Like she had this. As Justin mentioned earlier, she had this great spirit of adventure and wanting to enjoy life, and I think that their name fits her perfectly. You know, Joy. She really enjoyed life.
Anyone else want to go for it, Harper?
So in Chico, we were in summer and it was really, really hot. So the ice cream truck came by and Ari and I came running out to the corner because that's where he usually came. Auntie Joy bought us, Ari got like a SpongeBob popsicle and I got a rainbow snow cone. I dropped it. I was in tears. So since Rayleigh's wasn't that far, we went to Rayleigh's and she bought me a tub of ice cream and said, here. and then, and Ari wanted some and I said no. and
Drop your own ice cream.
yeah, I said this is for you. And then, I'm trying to remember the other one that I had, but I can't think of it, so. But that is one of the funnier memories that I have. And then, yeah.
Well, that's funny. I hadn't heard that one before. That's good. Go for it.
Yeah, a lot of you here are buying into this myth that Joy was really sweet and nice to people and all that. But it took me getting married to her, and being married to her for a while, that I learned the real truth about Joy. When she puts her foot down on something, she is not wishy-washy. So,
Gee, I didn't know that.
yeah, as her
As
sibling,
her
you-
4-year younger sister, yeah,
yeah,
I didn't
you
realize
wouldn't have
that.
any reason to. But I'm going to give you a couple examples that show a side of Joy that is really amazing. Not to make fun of it either. She is absolutely determined, and she is going to get her way if any way can be found to get it. And just one example of that is.
She would do it in a very diplomatic way, though.
Yeah, oh yeah, she'd be sweet about it, just get it. So, one time, back in the days when we actually had snow up here, we used to have snow like this up here, but haven't seen that in decades. And Joy was down in Marysville, in Yuba City shopping, came up the road, got to Collins Lake, which I imagine most of you passed on the way up here. And then the road gave out at the lake, and
There had just been a big blizzard.
what's that?
I was just saying, there had just been a big blizzard.
Yeah, and so Joy, by golly, had bought 2-gallon contained jugs of milk, and she was going to get that milk home. And y'all saw Collins Lake there, and you saw the Willow Glen Cafe. It's a long drive up that hill, and another mile over here, but by golly, Joy was going to get there. And she took these things, carried them along, got a ride partway up to the top of the hill, and then walked a mile.
Just trudging through the snow with these
Yeah.
gallons of milk in each hand.
Yeah. So I'm there, I'm over here with Justin and the dog or something. Suddenly we look over, and Joy is just walking across our front lawn area, carrying 2 jugs of milk. Gallon jugs of milk that she had just carried for two miles. So
Through the snow.
yeah, she was going to get that stuff.
Uphill both
Yeah.
ways.
Uphill.
So
It probably was uphill, actually.
It was uphill, yeah. And it was cold and miserable, and she certainly didn't have snow boots or snowshoes or anything on.
one of as you probably have guessed, we're animal lovers, and one of the animals that we most were devoted to was a little gray cat called Smokey. And she came into our house because Joy was driving across the 5th Street Bridge down in Marysville. And halfway across the bridge, she suddenly saw a cat run out from under a car, got hit, I think, and was very badly injured. Joy stopped the car in the middle of the road, walked to the end of the road, and got the cat where it had gone, and carried the cat back to the car. And meanwhile, she's getting bit very badly. Into her hands, and her hands were pretty bad.
No, bit her to the bone.
Bit her to the bone. And but Joy was determined, and she got it. She got that cat, took it to the vet, and that cat was a member of our household for many years and totally adored by all of us. And Joy got real hero marks for that one. But then there's another side of Joy that is sort of the same, which is quite determined and going to do it even if it's not maybe the best thing to do. I don't know where that would ever get seen in this family, that kind of attitude. But we had an invitation from a guy down in the Bay Area where I used to live, Ben Roman. And the guy was a snake. He raised snakes. And
Not just snakes. Rattlesnakes.
well, I was going to get to
Oh,
that.
okay.
So Joy and I went to visit this guy, and he said, "Hey, you want to hold a rattlesnake?" And Joy said, "Oh, no, I can't do that. I'm pregnant with Justin." And finally, he talked to her. He said, "It's going to be safe. I guarantee it." Oh, and by the way, the snake has not been what do you call it when you take the poison out?
Devenomized.
Defanged, demonetized, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good word.
It was still venomous.
Devenomized, yeah, I just made up a new word.
So she's finally allowed. So here she is, pregnant, with a rattlesnake this long, and then she finds out halfway with the snake across her lap that it hasn't been devenomized. And she went ahead and did it anyway. And that is a side of Joy you didn't often see, where she would take a physical challenge and just drive it to the nail into the stake. So that's it.
I'll say something.
Thank you.
I'm Roxanne and this is James, and we're neighbors, and I have a feeling that we are the newest acquaintances. I first want to say that both of them have been the best neighbors ever. I think we scored, we love our house, but it was the neighbors that really put, it's the best. And then, of course, they invited us over to welcome to the neighborhood. And she had me when she had that tea ready to go, because I also live in England as well. And we found out that we were, I was also an Air Force brat, and she's, so we had kindred spirits. And then I found out that, Jim and Justin were not allowed to eat at all until all the wildflowers had gone. And I was like, oh yeah, she's my girl. And then I heard stories of her, arguing every time a tree was supposed to be cut down. And I was like, okay, yeah. And James was like, don't get any more ideas. So she definitely was like somebody I hope to be when I keep getting older and things like that, or even now. But the one thing that really rings true whenever I think of her is how much she loved and was proud of her family and friends. She always had stories to tell, and it was so nice to just see that. And she just loved her life, and because of you guys. So that was something that she always had fond memories and stories to tell.
We've heard a
Thank
lot
you.
about you all without me.
Yes.
Just for the record, I did not mow the backyard because there's still flowers back there. And I was arguing with the PG&E about some of the trees, so.
And the tree cutters still quake in fear.
Yeah, and James, every time he's like, so I talked to PG&E, and I'm like, what?
Anyone else want to share anything?
I'll say I can't really go through a whole story because I would not make it through it. But I'm Julia, and I'm Joy's stepdaughter. And Joy, see, I can't even get through that.
That's the emotional chair.
Joy allowed for me to have glimpses throughout my life of what it would feel like to have a loving mother and someone who actually wanted you to feel happiness in your life for no other reason other than because life is meant to be enjoyed. And she just, from a single digit age till now, I have a whole lifetime of my most beautiful memories are with Dad and Joy. And they're my only happy family memories of a whole lifetime. And so it's like Justin asked me, you know, you want to come up with a memory that you can share, and it's just like I just couldn't, because it's a whole lifetime of flashes of everything wonderful and loving. And it's from early on, I just have all these beautiful memories of Joy baking homemade bread, and Joy baking her beef stroganoff, and Joy helping to show me like how a real proper mother would interact with a child, and take me to the library and have me read books, and oh my gosh, invite me into a nighttime bedtime reading scenario. It's like things that, wow, this must be what like some of the, what all the other happy houses are experiencing. She opened up a part of my life for me to be able to experience and allow motherly love and guidance and compassion, and on a level that only Joy can do in a proper English way, opening my eyes to so much more of what the world would have to offer, and that I was deserving to be a part of that. And I just can't help but be sitting here thinking she's gonna come walking out of the back bedroom in her bathrobe and, you know, pour a cup of tea and sit down and have a conversation. And so much came out of those conversations. And she was just always there for when anyone needed an ear, and it was with compassion and more love and sensibility. And it was, she somehow always knew what to say and what one person needed to hear. And I don't know, I can't imagine life without her. And she was just, her name, I know she got so tired of everyone giving her things that said Joy, but it was so hard not to want to, because it was just so fitting. And with her, with what has happened, I'm definitely trying to take something positive from that in learning the invaluable lesson of how truly short life is, and that since tomorrows are never promised, that we really need to find our happiness in any given day and experience it to its fullest, because boy, is that what she did. And you know, did it to the very end, and I so admire her for so many reasons, and will miss her terribly, and don't know how to, like, I just go to pick up the phone every day and want to hear her voice and hear her sense of reason to help me through any given
Your answering machine.
subject.
You would have it on the answering machine and play that, you said.
Oh, well, what? Oh, you mean on my phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been able to bring myself to do that yet. But I can't, it's just like all the memories of her, they're all wonderful, and I think that everyone in this room is just so fortunate to have been able to share their lives with such a wonderful woman. I know I have,
Thank you, Julie.
of course.
Anybody else got something they can throw out there?
I got something.
Go for it.
So, Aunt Joy, Harper, and I were at the Signal Pool, and in Chico, and this kid said, "Can you swim across the pool?" Harper said yes, and so I went with Harper, and I tried to swim across the pool. I choked a little bit. I tried to get Harper's attention, and then like when she finally got my attention, or when I finally got her attention, she came swimming over, like pulled me back to the shore, and I came running to Auntie Joy, and she was really angry at that kid. I'm like, Auntie Joy, it's not that big of a deal. and she's like, well, that kid's a jerk. And she was about to go walk over there and talk to that kid, but that kid was leaving. And I felt that day she was like really mad. And I got to know about Auntie Joy's temper. That's all.
Thank you. That was nice.
Anybody else? Go for it, Rosemary.
If I can. I remember the fun times. Jim and Jerry, Fred.
Oh, the goats.
And Jim and Joy wrestling them to the ground to try to trim their hooves. My brother getting involved and arguing with Joy on what was the best way to do it. Him naming Joy's little crap shed up there, Joy's cat house. She really objected and they argued a lot over that. But we had a lot of fun times at the yearly yard sale, and especially with the goats and the chickens, and that's all I can say.
Well, those yard sales were a delight for everybody on the block. It was really
She
nice.
cleaned out the shed, and she cleaned out underneath the house, and just everything she could find.
Yeah, those were a good bonding, good neighborly bonding time.
Yeah, she was very close to Dennis and Lorraine, and Jim and Joy both were very close. Dennis was my brother. He's since moved to Houston, but they were all real close. We had a lot of good barbecues, a lot of fun, and a lot of llama drama, and yeah, it was fun. Well done.
Do you remember when Biscuit came to the house? I remember that choosing a name for the dog, that we all said, the three of us said, she wanted to call the name, the dog Biscuit, and we all said, Biscuit, what a name is for a dog? It's like, that's
It's
not
a
a
lame
name.
name,
It's just a
yeah.
lame name, we're not going to Biscuit. And we all said, no way, no way, no way. She was so convinced, she said, no, it's gonna be Biscuit, and that's the way that the name will come up. She decided to go the way she wanted to go. No one changed her mind. Even if we tried really hard, there was such a lame name, but still.
Where do you go, by the way? Oh.
Actually, that fits in really well.
Did someone say biscuit?
That fits in really well. I didn't share that when we were growing up, my mom said that I would come to her and say, how come Joy always gets to be princess and I'm always the maid? It just seemed to be a natural role, it's like, okay, that's the way it is. Joy's the princess and I'm the maid.
There's actually a picture of a birthday party over here somewhere, and she's doing a little princess wave. Is that?
Got the princess wave down.
I don't know. In one of the albums, there's a great, I think it's her 12th birthday or something. There's a great picture of Joy doing the princess wave with a cupped hand and everything. It's pretty funny.
Well, Biscuit was supposed to be Jim's dog, wasn't
That was the idea.
Exactly. I didn't want to point that out. But
I remember.
can you imagine going down to the Willow Glen, which you probably all saw, the local saloon, and you walk in and say, my dog is named Biscuit.
I think Joy is one of the most tolerant people I know of her family members, and welcoming. We moved in with her when Brandon got out of the Marine Corps. We moved in with a tiny child. and stayed in the back room, the three of us, until we could figure out where we were going to live and what we were going to do. And I got my first nursing job, and that was after we had been coming up here every weekend and, you know, experimenting with the farm life. We built chicken tractors and we got electric fences, and she just let us run wild and do all this stuff, and is very tolerant of all of that and helpful and encouraging, and we had a blast. And then all of the shenanigans that Justin put her through, you know, there's just it's tolerance, right? And just welcoming and just go with the flow, and she's just awesome, and she was like a grandma to the kids. Really awesome. She cared for them, loved us. She's a special lady, and I miss her. So, yeah.
Justin, I was going to think of something to say, and then I read what Eleanor wrote, and I can't think of anything to add to that beautiful tribute that she wrote. I hope all of you saw it.
Absolutely.
And if you didn't, be sure to pick it up. It was wonderful.
I second that.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome, Ella. Thank you.
I never knew you guys did really good speeches.
It's funny the things that stand out in your mind. This is really silly, but when Justin was born, they were living in what's the town near Santa Cruz where you live?
Ben Lomond.
Ben Lomond. And Sam and I went down when Justin was 1 week old, and we were oohing and eyeing over the baby, and I asked her, well, how do you like living here? And she said, the shoes mildewed in the closet. I remember that.
She was not fond of that house at all.
No, it was rather dark.
Well,
Very dark. I mean, all the trees just surrounded it.
Yeah,
It was a beautiful spot if you didn't have to live there.
You'll notice that this room is surrounded by glass and there's light just pouring in and it's facing south, so there was a reason behind all that.
For that bush, wasn't it? The tree, the ficus tree?
What about it?
That was one of her loves, was the tree.
Oh, the ficus.
I'm not, yeah, I just, ever since childhood, I just have a memory of them being there. I don't know how old they are or how long they've been around, but
Some of them have moved to Chico, haven't they?
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen them there.
And chocolate chip cookies. Yeah, she loved chocolate chip cookies. She always said she couldn't get enough of them.
She did.
She did, yep.
You don't get between joy and chocolate.
But I remember you used to hide her chocolates in your closet. I
Yes, I
remember.
did. She made me hide them because she would eat them
I remember
all.
she told you to hide them. Yes.
I remember making chocolate chip cookies, and she said, bring them into my room, and anytime you get hungry, you have midnight chocolate chip cookies.
Oh.
So we woke up in like the middle of the night, and I woke her up and I said, do you want to have cookies? So we turned on the lights and we just snacked on a whole bin of cookies.
Wow.
The day before. And then we were also going on a walk once with Justin and Uncle Jim, and Justin brought along this knife, and he's got this big old knife in his hand, and Auntie Joy asked him, do you think this is okay? And he said, so then we went over there. I don't know where it was, but we started throwing rocks, and I asked Auntie Joy, do you want to have a turn? And she said no. So then we walked home, and then Justin and Arie were following behind, like just chopping away leaves and stuff. And Aunt Joy says to me, Justin's crazy. That's it.
I got one more memory. So we were having lunch out here. She gave us all kind of these weird foods. And like one of them was like plain noodles with butter.
That's weird.
It was
That's good.
it tasted really. I thought it was gross at first, but then I tried it, and then we had it like a lot. And one of our favorite snacks were peanut butter on graham crackers.
That was a Joy classic.
Yes.
And,
It's right up there with chocolate, huh?
yeah.
I think Joy would be smiling down on this assemblage and just very happy.
Hope so.
This is just what she would have wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I
You did
still
a
do,
beautiful job. You did a beautiful job getting the house all ready. And
Thank
did
you.
a beautiful job getting it organized.
but it just doesn't it just seem that Joy's just gonna walk in and join in?
And she's even doing the snapping thing that she
Yeah.
can do. She'll do the snapping thing.
I know when I walked in the door, I wondered before I came in if, how it would feel, because this house is Joy. And she's not here. Joy, speaking of family, Ed and Jim are 9 years apart. And we hadn't lived near Jim for a long time, but I'm from Chico and we're living in Chico, and so when I found out that they were here, somehow or other we all got together. But from then on, we spent many happy hours in this room. Sometimes Joy would fix a beautiful brunch, like we saw on the table today. And then we would come in here and drink coffee and talk and solve all the problems of the world. And Jim and Ed and I were all of a rather conservative political persuasion, but we could talk about it. And Joy was the voice of reason. We'd go off on a tangent and she'd bring us back because she had other ideas. And it was just wonderful that we could, in this divisive time, that we could find people that we could talk to about all these critical problems of the world and feel like we were getting to the bottom of it. And then we found going to the Calico Kitchen for breakfast, and we would spend hours in there, and they would allow us to sit there, and we'd do the same thing there, solving the problems.
She was also an avid member of our garden club, Red Bud Garden Club. And she's actually the one that introduced me to the club 4 or 5 years ago. I'm president now, so I've kind of made a little bit of an accomplishment within the club. Tina is our correspondent, she does our emails.
Joy did the, kind of oversaw, we were doing a scholarship. Because by doing emails, originally the club sent out the newsletter by mail. And so they're $15 a year dues, big deal. But it covered the postage. But I do it email, well, that doesn't cost. So the bank account added up, and the club decided to do scholarship. And Joy did the paperwork on getting applications together and getting things online, and we gave away one, tried to give away a second, and COVID hit. And nothing went on then. But we're going to do it again this next year, and I'm sure we will not do it without remembering all the work Joy put into it.
That's cool.
We've done several active things, and Joy was a part of them. We took plants to Paradise after their fire. We did plants for Loma Rica after their fire, and Joy was active in doing all of that. We collected garden tools, things like that, and she really, really loved the garden club. She looked forward to the meetings. We have a garden club cookbook, and one of her favorite recipes in that cookbook is the carrot cake with pineapple. She always made it when we had it, the garden club at her house,
And we all went into shock when we heard she was gone, especially so fast. It
Yeah.
just was so fast. Everybody sat around going, no, you know, that
Yeah.
can't be.
Yeah, none of us had any inkling whatsoever.
She hosted in November
I believe it was November.
in Chico
Yeah,
at the house.
that's wild.
Yeah.
Was it November?
October
It
or
was
November.
October or November, I believe October maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
She went in the hospital the week of Thanksgiving. So
We had just driven into town for our Thanksmas and arrived to find out that Joy and Justin were in the emergency room, and she really never came home.
just a few hours.
Just for a few hours.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. I'm sure she would appreciate all the memories. And there's so many, it's hard to know what to share, but that was an excellent representative sampling. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Barbara did a marvelous job, well, you all did a marvelous job organizing this from far away, out of town, putting together the beautiful food and flowers. You did a fantastic job.
Yes.
Everyone that helped.
Thank you.